Going to take you to New York, where Mayor Eric Adams is briefing media following the recent campus protests in the city. Let's listen in.
We cannot allow what should be a lawful protest to turn into a violent spectacle that saves and serves no purpose, as I said. There's no place for acts of hate in our city. We made that clear. That's from anti-Semitism to Islamophobia to anti-Sikhism and other communities, as our AAPI community. We have been consistent. There's no place for hate in this city. And I want to continue to commend the professionalism of the police department and to thank Columbia University. It was a tough decision. We understood that. But with the very clear evidence of their observation and the clear evidence from our intelligence division that they understood it was time to move and the action had to end. And we brought it to a peaceful conclusion. And we're going to continue to coordinate with Columbia, as we have been from the start and all of our academic institutions, to find a peaceful middle of allowing our young people to protest without violence. We support the right of free speech and open debate. We will always protect the right to protest, but we must balance the right with keeping students, the school, and our city safe. And it is a combined effort that we're going to continue to move in the right direction to accomplish this goal. We know that this is only a comma in the full sentence of public protection in the city. This is not a celebratory moment. We should never had to get here in the first place. We can't create environments while children could be in danger, and we must push back on all attempts to radicalize our young people in the city like we're seeing across the entire globe. Commissioner, thank you for a job well done, and turn it over to you at this time.
Good morning, and thank you, Mayor Adams. So yesterday, the NYPD received written notification from both Columbia University and the City College of New York. The situation on their campuses had deteriorated to a point where the safety of their students, faculty, staff, and the public was at risk. So last night, at both schools' requests, the NYPD entered the campuses and removed protesters who refused to leave the area. Approximately 300 arrests were made, with preliminary charges ranging from trespass to criminal to burglary. At this point, let the criminal justice system play out. But as we said last night, the universities worked for weeks to negotiate with the protesters, to resolve the situation, and to restore order on their campuses. But once it became clear that public safety was a real concern, especially after the protesters escalated the situation by breaking and entering into a university building, the NYPD was called in to do their job. I just want to say to the men and women of this department, thank you. Since the terrorist attack of October 7th, the NYPD has responded to more than 2,400 protests and demonstrations across this city. About 1,100 of those were related to the situation in Israel and Palestine. And at every one, we've worked to keep protesters safe and protect their First Amendment rights. At the same time, we work to keep our residents and workforce safe, to make sure our neighborhoods have full access to emergency services, and to keep life moving in the largest city in the nation. This isn't easy work, but no one does it better than the men and women of the NYPD. Lastly, I want to thank the officials at both Columbia University and City College for their efforts with the developing situation, their continuous and open communication with everyone involved, from the protesters to their students and staff, to city officials, including the police department, was all about public safety. And at the end of the day, that's what we're focused on. Our job is to keep people in our city safe, and the NYPD is ready to do their job anywhere and anytime we're called upon. They tried to lock us out, but the NYPD and the people of the city of New York will never be locked out, and we will always work together to keep our city safe.
With that, we'll take questions.
Marshall Kramer. Commissioner and Mr. Mayor, I wonder if you could tell us how many of the people who were arrested, both inside Hamilton Hall and outside, were not affiliated with the school, were not students, were outside agitators, both inside and outside? And I have a second question.
Thank you. I'll pass that question over to our Chief Patrol, John Shaw.
So right now, as it breaks down, we have 282 arrests. As of right now, we have 282 arrests. 173 of those came from City College, 109 came from Columbia. How it breaks down to your question, we'll have that answer sometime today. We haven't broken it down yet, but we'll have that answer.
Can you give us any more details about the people who were not affiliated with them? Or were they what groups they were associated with?
Good morning. So there are a number of different individuals who we know from over the years associated with protests, not just in our city, but in other cities as well, who are linked to and who we see doing training around the change in tactics that we described yesterday and that we all witnessed. The black bloc attire, the breaking windows, breaking doors, the vandalism, property destruction, the barricading, makeshift weapons that we recovered in the encampment. And so that change in tactics combined with the presence of known individuals on campus in the lead up to what happened in Hamilton Hall is why we had a real elevated concern around public safety.
Katie Honing?
Just one moment. And, Marsha, we know that the terminology of outside agitators was used during the civil rights movement, and people attempted to show that the movement was not legitimate. So we understand that. But this police department cannot get caught up on what's the political correct terminology. We have to be caught up on public safety. There were individuals on the campus, should not have been there. There were people who are professionals. And we saw evidence of training. We saw a shift in tactics that were being used. And when you start using the intelligence that Intel was able to supply, we knew it was time to communicate directly with you and say you have more than a peaceful protest on your hand.
Yeah, and Mr. Mayor, if I could just add to that, just as the letter said that we received from Columbia, this was led by outside agitators. And this was also stated in the letter that we received when Columbia asked us to move in.
All right. I think we have a video that we want to show you before we take some more questions. So, if you can play the video.
(13:44 GMT). You're watching Al Jazeera. We're bringing you pictures that are being shown in a video at a press conference being held by Eric Adams, the mayor of New York, and also the commissioner of the New York Police, in which they were describing the actions which had taken place over the last 24 hours or so. Police had raided a building at Columbia University occupied by students protesting in solidarity with Palestinians. Police forces had entered Hamilton Hall. A number of students had barricaded themselves in hours earlier. Dozens of protesters had been arrested. Eric Adams said there was no place for hate in the city. He defended the right to protest and free speech, but we can't create an environment, he said, where children are not safe. And the police commissioner, Edward A. Carbon, the police commissioner for New York, said 300 arrests had been made. He was very supportive of the actions that have been taken by the police. The police themselves have come in for criticism about the way in which the arrests were made, and also how the way that the demonstrations were handled. He also said since October the 7th there have been 2,500 protests that have been held in New York City that the NYPD had responded to. 1,000 of them have been in relation to Israel and Palestine. He said our job is to keep people in our city safe.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get latest news from Al Jazeera.